Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Dr. William Chen, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern health science. What if one of the most powerful allies against cancer was not found in a lab, not locked inside an expensive drug, but already living inside your body right now? What if a single type of gut bacteria could help your immune system recognize danger earlier, respond better, and create an internal environment that is far less friendly to cancer growth? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share may completely change the way you think about your gut, your daily food choices, and your long-term health. Most people think of cancer as something that appears suddenly, like a switch turning on overnight. But that is not how it usually works. Cancer is often a process. It builds slowly. It develops in an environment. It takes advantage of weakness, inflammation, metabolic imbalance, poor immune surveillance, and the silent damage that can accumulate inside the body for years before any symptoms appear. That is why prevention matters. That is why internal biology matters. And that is exactly why your gut microbiome matters more than most people realize. Now, here is the big idea. Among the many microbes that live in the human digestive system, one name keeps showing up in important conversations about metabolic health, inflammation, immune control, and even cancer biology. That name is Akkermansia muciniphila. It is not a famous name. It is not easy to pronounce, but it may be one of the most important bacteria you have never heard of. Akkermansia muciniphila lives close to the mucus lining of the gut. That may sound like a small detail, but it is not small at all. That mucus layer is like a protective border. It helps separate harmful substances, inflammatory signals, and unwanted microbial activity from the cells of your intestinal wall. When that barrier becomes weak, the body can become more inflamed, the immune system can become more confused, and the conditions that allow disease to grow may become stronger. When that barrier is healthy, your system is better regulated. Your immune system gets clearer signals. Your metabolism works better, and that internal stability can make a very big difference over time. Let me tell you something very important here. I am not telling you that one bacteria cures cancer. I am not telling you that if you feed this microbe, cancer disappears. That would be irresponsible, inaccurate, and misleading. What I am saying is something more meaningful and more useful. This bacterium appears to support biological conditions that may help the body resist cancer progression more effectively. It may help strengthen immune response. It may help reduce chronic inflammation. It may help improve the environment inside the body, so cancer has a harder time growing and spreading. And in some research, its presence has even been linked to better response to certain cancer immunotherapies. That is where this becomes so interesting. Cancer does not only depend on mutated cells, it also depends on the environment around those cells. It depends on whether the immune system notices them. It depends on whether inflammation keeps feeding them. It depends on whether blood vessels form to nourish them. It depends on whether the metabolic state of the body is stable or chaotic. And your gut microbiome can influence many of those systems at the same time. Think about that carefully. We often look for one giant answer to a complex disease, but biology doesn't usually work that way. The body is a network. Your immune system talks to your gut speaks to your brain, your food talks to your metabolism, your inflammation level affects your blood vessels, your sleep affects your immune rhythm, your stress hormones affect the intestinal barrier, and your gut microbes are participating in this conversation every single day. So when one beneficial microbe becomes stronger, the effect is not isolated. It can ripple through several protective systems at once. Akkermansia muciniphila has drawn attention because it seems to be associated with better gut barrier integrity, lower inflammation, and more balanced immune activity. Those are not small issues. Chronic inflammation is one of the most dangerous silent drivers in the body. It doesn't always hurt. It does not always announce itself. But it can continuously irritate tissues, damage normal signaling, and create a setting that helps disease take hold. When inflammation stays high for years, the body becomes less efficient at repair and defense. That is one reason why reducing inflammation is not just about feeling better. It is about creating terrain where dangerous cells struggle to thrive. Now let us take one step deeper. Every day, your body is constantly repairing, replacing, checking, and correcting itself. Cells divide. DNA is copied. Mistakes happen. Most of the time, your body catches these problems. That is one of the great miracles of human biology. Your immune system is not just there to fight infection. It is also part of a surveillance network. It helps detect what does not belong. It helps remove cells that are behaving abnormally. But when that surveillance system weakens, or when inflammation and metabolic stress overwhelm the system, abnormal cells may have more opportunity to survive. This is why the discussion around gut bacteria matters so much. If a bacterium like Akkermansia helps improve immune signaling and lower inflammatory stress, then it may indirectly help the body do what it was designed to do better. Not perfectly, not magically, but better. And in health, better every day is often what changes the future. Another reason this topic matters is that the gut is not just a tube where food passes through. The gut is one of the most active immune organs in the body. A huge portion of immune activity is connected to what is happening in the digestive system. So if the gut becomes damaged, leaky, inflamed, or microbially imbalanced, it does not stay confined to the stomach and intestines. It can influence the whole body. That means the quality of your microbiome is not just about digestion, it is about immune intelligence. So why is Akkermansia special? One reason is that it appears to support the mucus layer in the gut, rather than destroy it recklessly. In balanced conditions, it interacts with that protective lining in a way that may help maintain its renewal and integrity. In other words, it may help the gut barrier stay strong, active, and resilient. And when the barrier is strong, harmful inflammatory compounds are less likely to trigger immune chaos. That is one of the reasons researchers are so interested in it. But it tells us something powerful. The microbiome may help determine how well the immune system performs under pressure. That is a major shift in how we think about health. It means your daily meals may shape the microscopic ecosystem that shapes the immune system, that helps shape long-term disease outcomes. Now, the natural question is this: if this bacterium is so helpful, how do we support it? This is the part most people care about, because information only becomes valuable when you can use it. And here is the good news. You do not need extreme methods. You do not need fear. You don't need gimmicks. In many cases, what beneficial bacteria want is exactly what modern eating habits often remove: real fiber, plant diversity, polyphenols, metabolic stability, and less processed overload. Let us begin with polyphenol-rich foods. Polyphenols are natural compounds found in colorful plant foods, and many beneficial microbes seem to thrive when these compounds are regularly present. Akkermansia, in particular, has often been associated with foods such as pomegranate, cranberries, grapes, berries, and other deeply pigmented plant foods. These foods do not kill cancer by themselves. That's not the point. The point is that they may help nourish a microbial environment that supports anti-inflammatory and immune protective function. Pomegranate is a strong example. It is rich in polyphenols that interact with the gut microbiome in beneficial ways. Cranberries are another powerful example. They contain compounds that may help support microbial balance and barrier integrity. Dark berries can also contribute similar protective chemistry. If you want a practical takeaway, this is one of them. If your plate lacks colorful plant compounds every day, your microbiome is probably missing tools it needs. Next comes fiber. Real fiber. Not just the number printed on a cereal box, not synthetic marketing. I am talking about fiber from legumes, vegetables, seeds, oats, barley, beans, lentils, chickpeas, artichokes, onions, leeks, and a wide variety of plants. Fiber is not food for you alone. It is also food for the right microbes. When beneficial microbes ferment certain fibers, short-chain fatty acids, and other compounds that help calm inflammation, strengthen the gut lining, and improve immune balance. This is one of the clearest examples of how what you eat becomes biology. If you feed your body calories but starve your microbiome, you may look full while remaining biologically undernourished. That is one of the great hidden problems of modern diets. People eat enough, sometimes too much, but the inner ecosystem still weakens. Processed food, Low fiber intake, constant sugar spikes, and poor plant diversity can create a microbiome that is unstable, less protective, and more inflammatory. That is not a small issue if you care about long-term cancer risk. Diversity matters too. One of the simplest mistakes people make is eating the same 5 foods every week and assuming that it is enough. Your microbiome likes variety. Different plant foods provide different fibers, different polyphenols, different micronutrients, and different chemical signals. The more intelligent variety you give your gut, the better chance you have of supporting a richer and more resilient internal ecosystem. So do not just ask, "Am I eating healthy?" Ask, "How many different protective plant foods am I feeding my microbes this week?" Now let us talk about what weakens this system. If you want beneficial bacteria to thrive, you have to constantly stop feeding what disrupts them. Ultra-processed foods are one of the biggest problems here. They are often low in real fiber, low in protective plant compounds, and high in additives, refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and calorie density. Even when they taste convenient, they often create a microbiome that becomes less diverse and more inflammatory over time. Chronic overeating can also become a problem, especially when it leads to visceral fat accumulation. Visceral fat is not just stored energy, it is metabolically active tissue. It can produce inflammatory signals that disturb the body's internal environment. Excess visceral fat has been associated with increased risk for multiple diseases, including several cancers. So if you are serious about supporting anti-cancer biology, this is not only about one superfood or one bacterium, it is also about reducing the metabolic chaos that feeds inflammation every day. Sleep matters here. Stress matters here. Blood sugar control matters here. Movement matters here. Why? Because the gut does not live in isolation. High stress can disrupt the gut barrier. Poor sleep can alter immune function and microbial balance. Physical inactivity can worsen insulin resistance and inflammatory burden. Repeated blood sugar spikes can damage metabolic stability. When people ask for one health secret, they often want one object. But the truth is, the body protects itself through systems that cooperate. Akkermansia may be one important player, but it performs best within a broader, healthy pattern. So what does feeding this bacterium daily actually look like in real life? It looks like starting your morning with something intelligent instead of something empty. Maybe unsweetened yogurt or kefir if you tolerate it, combined with berries, ground flaxseed, and a small serving of oats. Maybe a bowl with chia, walnuts, and pomegranate seeds. Maybe a smoothie that is not a sugar bomb, but a real metabolic meal built around fiber, plant compounds, and protein balance. It looks like lunch built around legumes, greens, olive oil, herbs, onions, and colorful vegetables, rather than a refined white bread meal that leaves you hungry again 2 hours later. It looks like including foods such as lentils, beans, chickpeas, cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, mushrooms, and fermented elements where appropriate. It looks like tea instead of sugary drinks more often. It looks like making your microbes part of your meal planning, not an afterthought. It looks like dinner with real structure, a plate where half the meal is plants, a source of clean protein, a side of beans or fiber-rich grains, bitter and colorful vegetables, maybe some cooked onions, garlic, or leeks that help feed beneficial microbes, maybe a small serving of berries later in the day instead of processed dessert. These are not dramatic actions, but repeated daily, they become biological instructions. And that is what food really is. Food is not just pleasure. Food is information. Food tells the body whether to inflame or regulate, whether to spike or stabilize, whether to starve beneficial microbes or feed them, whether to weaken barriers or reinforce them. Every meal is sending a message. The question is, what message are you repeating most often? One of the biggest mistakes in health communication is making people think that healing begins only after diagnosis. That is too late for the best opportunity. Real protection begins long before disease announces itself. The body gives you chances every day to build resilience. The microbiome responds quickly. Change your food pattern, and your internal biology begins to respond. Not all at 11, not in a week, but it answers. That means every day matters more than people think. I also want to address something important: supplements. People hear about a bacteria name and immediately want a pill. But the microbiome is not that simple. A supplement may have a role in some future targeted settings, and this field is evolving rapidly. But you cannot supplement your way out of a daily pattern that keeps harming the gut. If your meals are inflammatory, low in fiber, low in plant diversity, and high in processed junk, then adding one capsule while ignoring the foundation is like trying to grow a garden in poisoned soil. Foundation first: feed the ecosystem, improve the terrain, lower the noise of inflammation, support the barrier, stabilize metabolism. Then you give beneficial microbes a reason to stay. Now, why does this become especially meaningful for cancer prevention conversations? Because cancer growth is not only about the first abnormal cell, it is also about what happens next. Does the immune system respond? Does inflammation amplify the problem? Does the tissue environment become more hostile to cancer or more supportive of it? Does angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels, begin feeding the danger? Does metabolic dysfunction keep supplying fuel? These are environmental questions, and the microbiome influences that environment. That means feeding beneficial bacteria is not a side issue. It may be part of a larger anti-cancer lifestyle pattern. Along with maintaining a healthy weight, controlling visceral fat, exercising regularly, sleeping well, avoiding smoking, reducing alcohol excess, eating high-fiber whole foods, and lowering chronic inflammation, the microbiome becomes part of a practical defense strategy. I want to be especially clear for anyone hearing who has cancer or who loves someone going through cancer treatment. Please do not hear this as a replacement for medical care. Do not stop treatment. Do not reject your oncology team. Do not confuse supportive lifestyle science with miracle claims. What I am talking about is partnership. The goal is to create the strongest internal environment possible alongside evidence-based medical care. If your microbiome can help your immune system work more effectively, that is worth understanding. If your food choices can reduce inflammation and support resilience, that is worth doing, but always in partnership with qualified medical guidance. And for those of you who are not sick right now, this message may be even more important. Do not wait for fear before you start respecting your biology. Prevention is not passive. Prevention is active. It happens in kitchens, grocery stores, sleep habits, walking routines, stress responses, and everyday choices that most people underestimate because they do not look dramatic. But the body remembers patterns. The body reflects repetition. The body responds to what you feed it over time. So if you remember only one thing from this video, remember this. One of the smartest anti-cancer questions you can ask is not only, what should I avoid? It is also, what should I feed? Because when you feed the right system, you strengthen the right response. And when you repeat that daily, you stop working against your own biology. Feed the microbes that protect the gut. Feed the foods that lower inflammation. Feed the habits that stabilize metabolism. Feed the internal environment that helps your immune system stay alert. That is how long-term protection is built. Quietly, repeatedly, intentionally. So what can you start doing today? Start by adding one polyphenol-rich food every single day. Pomegranate, cranberries, blueberries, blackberries, purple grapes, or another deeply colored plant food. Add real fiber to both lunch and dinner, not once in a while. Daily. Increase plant diversity across the week. The goal is not perfection. The goal is variety and consistency. Reduce ultra-processed foods that crowd out the bacteria you need most. Protect your sleep. Move your body. Lower your visceral fat if it is high. And stop waiting for motivation to become fear before you take action. Because your future health is being shaped in the small decisions you repeat when nobody is watching. That is the power of this conversation. It is not about hype. It is not about fantasy. It is about understanding that the human body contains built-in systems of defense, and your lifestyle can either support those systems or sabotage them. Akkermansia muciniphila may be one of the most important microbial allies in that story, and feeding it daily may be one of the simplest meaningful steps you can take to support a healthy internal environment. The most powerful changes in health are often not the loudest. They are the ones that quietly shift the biology beneath the surface. Better microbes, better barrier function, better immune signaling, lower inflammation, better metabolic control. Over time, that becomes better odds. And in a world full of noise, confusion, and oversimplified health advice, that is a message worth taking seriously. So the next time you sit down to eat, ask yourself one question. Am I just filling my stomach, or am I feeding my defenses? That one question can change the way you shop, the way you cook, the way you think, and possibly the way your body protects you in the years ahead. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm Dr. William Chen, and if this message helped you see your gut health in a completely new way, stay connected, keep learning, and keep taking daily action for your future. Your body is always listening to what you do repeatedly. Feed it wisely, protect it consistently, and give your health every chance to thrive. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you again very soon.